to the reading part, I need to be telling you, comparing to the reading part, the listening is so easy. I can tell you the truth. You would enjoy the listening very much, right? I can tell you the truth. Listening is very easy. So you're going to be facing fill in the blanks, highlight correct summary, and we have to focus more on dictation and spoken summary, or summarize spoken types. These two question types are very important than the multiple choice, fill in the blanks, and highlighting correct summary. I will tell you something more about it from my slide, right? Okay, so let's go to the slide that I have here. Yes. Yeah. Okay, let me just start with this current slide. Yes, let's face with this. Okay, yes, the same thing. I was showing you from the practice page book. So this is a first enjoying with the spoken summary. You're going to be facing two different questions and then multiple choices. You'll be given two different multiple choices, honestly, right? And that's what the point is. And having shared that, and then yes, it's about listening to a lecture and then responding it, nothing else. And then finally, I think I need to get down this one. You're going to be facing first fill in the blanks. This fill in the blanks is so easy. You have to type whatever you listen without any doing committing mistake, honestly. Then you have to highlight. You're given 3 or 4 summaries, whichever summary is relevant to the conversation lecture. You have to match the ideas between the conversation lecture with that of the options of the summary. It doesn't have negative marking apart from this, number 2 questions. Wow, this doesn't have negative marking, honestly, because it doesn't have negative marking. It's about only simply facing conversation lecture, then answering in your own way. I need to be honestly telling you this one. And having said that, you just have to select, yes, select a word, honestly, right? And then you need to go for choosing only the missing word. It's about summarizing the theme of the lecture and the option. You're given 4, either 3 options you have to match with the conversation lecture along with the audio or conversation. Wow. Again, I need to be telling very honestly, you have to be very careful with number 7 question type, number 7 and number 2 question types. Multiple answers and highlight incorrect words does have negative marking. This is very easy, but if we choose unknowingly incorrect word, then -1 will be used from our whole listening section. So whatever the word that you choose, you need to be listening very carefully. Then only you have to tick mark which of the sections are very incorrect, right? So I will be showing you very practically and technically this is not going to be clear today. So I need to show some questions from my slide or from the practice page very independently, then we will clear. So we don't give more time practicing number 7 question type, highlighting incorrect words, and of course, the multiple choice questions. We get more priority for the best score, good students who score 90 in the listening. Well, they get more priority summarizing spoken text and only dictation. You have to, because why? You have to keep in your mind, most of the questions do not have more than 1 mark. That's why we give more priority for summarizing spoken text and writing from dictation from the listening part. We don't give more priority, number 7 question type and number 2. Yes, if you do have any questions from the listening, I will be so thankful. And PD exam that lasts for 2 hours, just 2 hours, but you can finish before 2 hours. If you do well, if you type dictation very quick and fast, then you don't have to be getting worried much about this one, right? You can do very well. I can tell you the truth. That's what the point is. Yes. All right, so this is all to say. And if you do have questions, you could ask me. And why do I have to be facing the PD testings? Well, it is the fastest result you're getting, right? You get your result within 2 days, and then you can even download the result. And it is the AI systems. There is no bias. Sometimes you might face technical bias, but mostly you don't face that kind of human bias. And you can, book your exam test along with the Interlace before you're going to be facing your real exam. But before facing the real exam, I'll be conducting, of course, the real mock test, more than 4 or 5s. So if you score 70, or not less than 70, or 80, or sometime in some section 90, then you would be qualified for facing your PD testing. I'll be also giving you feedbacks depending on your preference and many more. My job is to help you to get your desiring score. And please, you could be speaking without any hesitation if you do have any questions. Even when taking a class, you make sure that you have to be really communicating with me so that I could reach you out. I can fulfill your offers, your desire, or your actual needs, because communication is very important. Yes, this is the official page that you can use for getting something new about Pearson. This is the official site that you can use for learning and getting to know more about the PD. Yes. And if you have questions, otherwise I will be taking you into the IELTS part. Yes. All right. All right, I need to be thanking you for joining this, right? It's quite important for Interlace once more. And you know very well how that I have to be facing this one by just going into. Yes, sure. This is the most, first, perhaps the popular testing you're going to be ever facing, honestly speaking, right? You're going to be honest. It is the most important test. Why? Because more than according to the source, I have not spoken myself. According to the reference that you're going to be seeing, you can even visit this website to know more about this one. This is the authentic website. You can get ideas about IELTS. This is, of course, available nowadays, either in computer-based, even in paper-based. Paper-based was quite old. I think it's been perhaps 6 years, not more than 6 years. Computer-based testing is also available if you wish, if you're very good at using your computer frequency, or if you feel very comfortable reading yourself on the screen. Especially reading could be the problem, since you have to study long passages of 7 to 8 words in every 20 minutes, or you have to finish in 20 minutes. That could be more challenging, but when it comes to listening and writing, well, you can do very well. I have no problem with this one. Yeah, you can do very well, right? And yes, I need to be honest with you. And first, the IELTS stands for International English Language Testing System. This is designed for international students and professionals who are willing to begin the journey, especially while English is used as a medium of instructions, where in America, Australia, or even in European countries, most universities accredit or recognize the IELTS as a doorway for your communications, even for PR or migration. Everybody has to be doing IELTS, even if you're a high school grad or a PhD, or let's say if you are a professional, expert, you need to be doing IELTS. Getting its in its section 7 is the ultimate door for the IELTS, honestly, right? Okay. So anybody having questions you have? Now let me tell you something more about it. Yes, it is the most trusted English testing conducted by first the British Council IDP. But the questions are designed by University of Cambridge. Yes. Nowadays, as I have already told you, you can also paste the test online or paper-based. While I'm not going to talk about GT, let me talk about the academic format of the listening, because this is the first test you're going to be facing. It's about facing the listening part, honestly. And you're going to be facing, 40 different questions. Each part 1 and part 2, includes 10 different questions, honestly. All right. And part 1 and 2 questions are related about everyday conversations, honestly speaking. And you need to be enjoying, firstly, the conversation, right? And then, in part 2, you need to be listening to a lecture on the social situations. Part 2 and 1 sections are very easy. Comparatively, you can score very easy. You can score 20 out of 20. Since part 1 includes 10 questions, even part 2 includes 10 questions. If you score 20 out of 40 questions, you'll be getting pipe and pipe. So listening is comparatively very easy. Now let's move on to the part 3 and 4. Honestly, part 3 and 4 will be amazing experience. It's about facing the real life of university and colleges back in America, Australia, or somewhere, wherever English is used as a means of communications. While part 3 is about facing, honestly, it's about facing a lecture among the students with the preparation, or sometimes students will discuss about themselves. And finally, you're going to face a lecture about geology, archaeology, science. It is designed for university communication so that you can independently communicate with the professors and for students while studying in abroad. Well, I need to summarize the listening very shortly. Yes, approximately you're going to be facing 30 minutes of testing along with transfer time, and you're going to be facing 4 different parts and 40 different questions. And you're going to be getting 1 mark for each correct answer, honestly. There's no negative marking, either in listening, either in reading, or in the listening. Also in the writing section. You're going to be facing a variety of questions, facing the multiple choice, mathing, labeling a diagram, map, and of course, poem and verb and noun and summary, sentence completion, as well as questions. Yes, let's move on to the reading part. Reading could be the most challenging for our candidates where we're facing the reading. For example, it is about facing the 1-hour test, answering at least 40 different questions. And mostly what happens, you're going to be facing the journals, and most questions are set from the journals and newspapers, online and sources, and non-processed experiences. And most of your tests are faced on undergrad and postgrad levels. And I need to be honest with you, one of the questions is very logical than anything else that you're going to be facing. And at least one passage might face, one question might face a diagram or many more. Right? And I need to be very careful with you when it comes to the reading part, because you're going to be answering directly on your reading essay without any getting to know about this one. You don't get extra time when transferring this one. Let me summarize how it's like. It's about facing the 60, and then this is going to be a very tough one. We're going through 700. Spending 20 could be very tough, and you're going to be getting only 1. So that's why this could be more challenging, and taking you into the next level could be more different experience. So starting with the basic conception of learning is very different than anything else. But psychologically, this is very different. I would be just handling psychologically. Getting into firstly the 5 and 5. I'm going to be using first 5 and 5 label of passes, then 6 and 5, and of course 7 and 8. This is going to be the amazing experience you're going to face in this one. And then having said that, we're going to be facing multiple choice, and then identify information, and facing writing claims, and matching information headings, and matching features. This is going to be amazing. We'll be just getting into all the question types that you face. And again, we have some more questions left here. 7, matching sentence completion. This is quite easy. And doing with summary and note and flow, leveling and so on questions. Yes. Let's go finish this writing very quickly before getting into the lessons of the PD. Well, writing could be also yet another challenging part, but comparing to the reading, writing is quite easy. It's about facing only 2 different questions you're going to face. Wow. So while in the task 1 of the writing, you're going to be facing a report presentations. It's about spending 20 minutes of writing and then writing at least 150 words of the report in task 1. Right? You given a graph, and you just have to select data for comparison. Then you need to write at least into 4 or 5 paragraphs in your own words of language. But getting 7 in the writing is about using a variety of complex sentences and compound sentences along with the punctuation. It does have a lot of ideas academically. And let's move on to the part 2 or part to the writing. It's about facing the essay formally. You should simply face. I'm going to essay, nothing else. So it's about facing simply them, of course, nothing else, simply them. I mean, the essay. So you have to write 250 words of the essay, no longer than spending 40 minutes writing, of course, of 4 paragraphs. I can even show you the sample if you wish, otherwise I will take you to the next part. So writing exam takes that 1 hour. 20 minutes per task 1 and 40 minutes per task 2. This is how you have to face in 1 hour. You're going to face only 2. But honestly, task 2 carries the highest scoring ever. For example, if you're given 6 in your task 1, your papers are checked by 2 different examiners for each. Task 1 is checked by different than that of the task 2. So out of 9, your score is calculated. So if you're given, if examiner gives you 6 in task 1 writing, then B examiner gives you 8 in the essay writing. This is how your score level is increasing, or this is how the score level increases if you do well in your task 2. Yes, as I already told you, you have to write very semi-formal way or academically. And this is about facing only the tests of essay, nothing else, right? And then let's move on to the other part. Yes, I will be talking more about this. This last part we're going to be facing. So academic speaking is another challenge that you're going to be facing. Yes, and yeah, I need to be honest with you. This is also most amazing, but not going to be difficult for you all if you have at least a conversational skill. It is not going to be difficult. This test is conducted individually, not in the group. It's about facing part 1, part 2, and part 3. And of course, especially IELTS examiner who takes your interview, just like facing the job interview. And there's going to be a conversation between you and the examiner that is tasked from the part 1. In part 1, what happens is, I need to perhaps start with the part 1. I think this is the part 1. Let me just tell you. What happens in part 1, you need to only answer the questions by yourself, whatever the questions are asked. And you have to first introduce yourself, then you ask questions about yourself, about your daily life, or maybe about your hometown, hobby, many more. I'll tell you something more when starting the speaking. And soon after finishing your part 1 of the speaking, they would take you to part 2, where in the part 2, you're given a speaking topic by the examiner on a general topic. Then you have to be speaking for nearly 2 minutes, preparing in 1 minute. You get a time to prepare and making a note within 1 minute, which is going to be quite amazing experience, honestly speaking, right? And let me be honest with you, speaking could be also the most joyful experience that you're going to be facing, no matter what people say about it. You're going to be facing the most joyful system that you're going to be facing, right? All right, having said that, if you have any questions from the part 2, then I would be thankful. Anyway, no worries. So you're given very general topics, and then you have to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. And let's move on to part 3. This could be all about answering the question and answer, right? So you just have to answer the questions, right? Preparing in by yourself. You get a time to know. And you don't have to be speaking so fast, just like in the PT. In PT, you have to speak a little bit fast just to maintain the fluency. Otherwise, if we speak like this, for example, including the preparation time, if you read like this, I think we get almost 0 marks in our fluency. But you need to read very fastly in the PT, just like this, whenever you do read aloud, including the preparation time, including the preparation time, including the preparation time. This is one. Right? So what else that happens in pattern, as I have already told you, it's about answering the questions of what really you speak in the part of the speaking. Whatever that you give a speech, that becomes your team discussions in your part 3. That means you have to answer the questions of your speaking topic thematically. Sometimes the examiner might go out of the topic, yet you need to answer by using your imagination or fantasies, using a variety of complex and compound sentence structures, along with lexical research and fluency, maintaining your fluency, especially your pronunciation either. Yes. This is how it lasts nearly sometimes 4 or 5 minutes. It doesn't take, sometimes it will go more than 5 minutes either. It depends upon you and the examiner, though it takes 11 to 30 minutes, including part 1, 2, and finally with part 3 of the speaking. Well, this is the reading answer sheet that I have to be telling you. This is where you need to write your answers whenever you practice. Instead of writing in the question booklet, you need to write your answers here systematically 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And you need to write here. You cannot write your answers in the question booklet. And when you come to the reading, this is the listing one, paper-based. For computer-based, you do need to, and a transfer. You just have to type automatically. Your answers are saved on a system. So this is the first question you're going to be facing, 1, 2, 3, where you need to or fill out your own answers. Most of the answers are objectively included. Objective. Most answers are very objective. Objective, very short. You don't have to write more than 2 or 3 words, honestly speaking. 2 or 3 words. Yes, thank you so much. All right, finally, before jumping into the PD, I need to be honest with you. If you have any questions, you could let me know. हजुरको क्वेशन्स छ भने मलाई भन्न सक्नुहुन्छ है यस ओके ल त्यसो भने म तपाईहरुलाई let me start with I'm going to start with अलिकति म रिडिङ चाहिँ पढाइदिन्छु आज let me just yes म यो तपाईहरुको ग्रुपमा नि शेयर गर्छु हैन that is going to be very interesting yes Allah. All right, so welcome to the fill in the blanks of the reading in the PD. PD को चाहिँ reading part. हामीले कसरी तयारी गर्ने, how to prepare this one. Knowing is about ultimate goal is to fill the blanks in the PD, right? So knowing the meaning of the word and the context is very, very important, my dear ones, because I would be also starting perhaps tomorrow on verbally speaking, but let me just start with the reading. Because we need to focus for our score. We're going to be running your class very systematically, but we give more priority for the reading, for the speaking part along with the dictation part. Yes. Yes. As I already told you, knowing how to use especially the nouns and adjectives, including adverbs and the verbs, amazing experience than anything else. Yes. Well, you're not going to be facing just like, for example, desktop computer, black, white, and black and white. That is not the noun. You're going to be facing new kind of noun in the PD testing. For example, liberty, anger, freedom, love, democracy, clarity. See, these are the important forms of the nouns that you have to know this one. It is not like simple noun, for example, simple noun like carrying a mobile, right? It's about facing the mobile and telling you something bad about mobile. It's not like that. It is a very different experience. I can tell you this one, right? So I'll be telling you something more about the noun if you don't mind. Yes. See, this is how I have to choose the noun. Development, skill, implication, independent, sensible. I would be honest with you, development is a noun. Skill is not a noun. Skill is a noun. But sensible is not a noun. This is adjective noun. And of course, independent is also noun. Now, how to find out the noun then? Like, I can give you the best idea to find out the noun item, because you would be unknown about noun. If you see any suffixes, you have to see the last few words of the few letters of the word. If any words that begins with A and C, then that is noun. This is what the structure. This is what idea that you have to be using, my dear ones. Importance is a noun, right? E and C, if any letter, I would say if any word that ends E and C, well, I need to be honest with you. Exactly. If any letter ends with E and C, well, that is going to be also the noun. For example, teacher, if any letter, any word, I would say not the letter. If any word ends with 2 letters, ER, that is also noun. Attention is also noun. So if you know the shortcuts of, if you only know suffixes of certain nouns, perhaps it would make your reading more flexible and easy to understand, right? And for example, if any word that ends in NESS, of course, that is also kind of a word. Actual. Oh, right? A friendship. Sheep. Yes. So I would be sharing this slide in your group. Make sure that you study. You don't have to. I'm going to go through of this. So this is the structure that you can follow this one. So if you see any letters that ends with, if you see any words ends with A and C, E and C, E, R, I, O, N, I, T, Y, M, E, N, T, NAS, and or SIP, then you could regard them, or you could regard this as nouns, no matter what people say about it, because you're going to be facing the same sort of structures when seeing the options, especially in the reading part. Now let's talk about the verbs. You're not given saying the verbs. You know, what could be the best structure to distinguish the verbs before practicing the reading? I still have to teach you some grammatical lessons. I've been only teaching you so far. Nouns, of course, the verbs, even adjectives, perhaps adverbs. And perhaps tomorrow I'm going to be teaching you grammar for the PDE. You don't have to study other general grammar. I have designed a grammar for the PDE, especially reading part. If any word that ends with ATA, wow, you're going to be enjoying this one. Then we got here sharpen. Yeah, Ian, if in letters start with being and verbs, right? And advertise, organize, many more. That is a very different experience that you're going to be facing. I need to be telling you this honestly. Well, organize, advertise, identify, serve, participate. Yeah, many more, right? So that is what the point is. So, well, if any words ends with or end with AT, Ian, IFY, ISC, and beyond that, organize, IZA, then you could regard it, and you could regard them, or you could regard these as verbs. Well, knowing or distinguishing nouns and adjectives could be more challenging because there are so many, suffixes, prefix that letters come before the word, suffix that, and the letters come behind the word. Label. This is literally label, adjective, really logical. And something more I need to tell you. Yes. Yeah. And this is label, logical, important, and then we're excited here. In ENT, independent is also an adjective. Well, in English, in Nepali, it's not much different distinguishing adjective and noun, but when it comes to English, adjectives are regarded the special part of the words. Then we got here ENT, independent, beautiful, sensible. Then we got here specific and exciting. And then we got here active, right? IATIVE. Then we got here careless, wow, many more, and dangerous, and many more. And happy is something more. This is going to be amazing experience you're going to face. Happy, dangerous, and careless. So all years, because of all years, this is regarded as the adjective. Less, active, happy. Then we got to do with some push, exciting, war, and many more, right? And sensible, beautiful, independent, excited, right? And happily lead, and begin ends with the lead word, and lovable, many more, right? This is how the journey begins. Yes, and acknowledging, knowing, or distinguishing adverb is so easy. If any words of English that ends with L and Y, you got it as adverbs. Adverbs are so easy to distinguish this one. Yes, adverbs are so easy. Interesting one. Yes. All right, so I'm gonna off the video then for a while. Okay, that was the correct one. Yes, yes. Let's go to practical aspect. Then you will enjoy this one. I think I'll take you to not this slide. This is not clear. I'll show the clear one. See, this is more clear. This is how the PTE reading looks like when it comes to the fill in the blanks, right? See, this is, of course, ABLE, this is noun, this is adjective. ION, this is noun. So if you could able to distinguish the difference between mainly the adverbs and adjective noun, I'm going to be sure that you're going to nail the PD very well. तपाईँले राम्रो गर्न सक्नुहुन्छ PDमा है adverbs and nouns बुझ्नु भयो भने राम्रो गर्न सक्नुहुन्छ है अब यो नै चिनेको छैन भने you cannot do well. You cannot do well, I can tell you this. So first, we need to understand the context. I have to teach you how to do the reading. That's why I'm giving you the basic ideas before jumping into the practice. So I got a lot of things here. I got a lot of things to tell you, right? See, we got, well, I need to show you how we are going to be doing. See, we got a lot of, I got multiple different rules for the reading part of the PD. Say rule number 4, got rule number 5, rule number 5, and then we got rule number again 6, 7, and 8, right? Because reading is very challenging. I need to teach it grammatically depending on the context of the PD reading, right? Yeah. Then we got here, this is rule number 9 and 10. Then we got here, rule, not the last, but not least, but the last, I would say. 2. This is the ultimate one. And it's not going to be enough. I still have to teach so many other grammatical functions so that you can do well in the reading part. I will be sharing you this slide on the group so that you would enjoy this one. And yes, and finally, if you do have any questions for today, I'll be telling you something more about it. And so let's practice this number 1. At least let's do some exercise for the reading section of the PT. This is simplifying, fill in the blanks, nothing else, right? Well, now, which would be, you could be in more than 2 options. Well, you got only 2 options here, but in the exam, you get more than 5 or 6 options, but doesn't matter. Because if you only distinguish the difference between the adjectives and adverbs, mainly the nouns, you could do well, no matter what ways you're going to see, right? Yes, I'm going to be closing up to some time. I got some notifications. Yes, up to some time. So let me just, start with the number 1. Yes, I would be asking one of the candidates to read number 1 questions to Elina. Elina, right? Can you read number 1 question, Miss, if you're comfortable by unmuting yourself? Yes. Okay. Yes, I will definitely. Okay. All right. Rosemary Shrestha, can you read number 1 question? Just for introduction.
Sure.
Just read only the question, not the blank one, right?
Okay. The blank was that dictatorship would be temporary and that it would make it possible to take swift and effective action to deal with an emergency.
Wow. Thank you so much. I would really appreciate that. Well, see, sometimes you don't need to read the entire question. Sometimes you get the hints, not even reading entire question. By only reading some of the words of this number, you could really get the ideas. I should be very thankful with this one, right? And yes, first we need to understand emergency and the dictatorship. And I think you know the meaning of intention. Niat bhन्छ नेपालीमा नियत नराम्रो नियत. This is available now. So you need to go for beyond this one. So let's understand what exactly the meaning of dictatorship. Dictator means a person who rules the country without any democracy, without giving freedom of public or people. For example, North Korea, Pyongyang, he can do whatever he like. So his intention could be all the time negative, sometimes positive, but most of the time dictator means they always dominate the people. Are you getting me? So we need to understand now the context. We got to know the meaning of dictatorship. Dictatorship means not good. It does give negative meaning. Who dominates public, who misuses the democracy instead of giving freedom of actually human rights to the public. The dictator simply runs the country in his own way, either using power or money or whatever. For example, this question says, if the dictator is not available. For example, we need to understand the emergency. If the dictator, for example, intention of dictator, intention could not be so much relevant here. Why? Because the intention of dictator is always negative. So this you have to eliminate this one. But if you just use this context unavailable, then if dictator is unavailable, then emergency can be operated. जस्तै नेपालमा राजा मर्यो नि, राजा मरेपछि emergency लागू गर्यो नि, त्यस्तै dictator नहुँदाखेरि नि emergency लागू गर्नुपर्छ भनेको कि. सो dictator नभएको अवस्थामा चाहिँ emergency लागू गर्नुपर्छ भनेको यो. So intention of dictator itself is a negative. So we don't pick up the word intention. So we rather pick up this adjective. The unavailable was the dictator would be temporary. It would make it possible to take swift and effective action to deal with the emergency. Means if the dictator is not present on his throne or in his leadership for a while, so maybe because of his absence or because of emergency or medications or accidents, then dictatorship चाहिँ लगाउ गर्न सकिन्छ भने. So if you use the word now, what happens if I use the intention? Doesn't give any meaning. Because sometimes we need to understand the context. This question of the context says that, not the intention. Intention is not required, actually, by this question. This question requires when the dictator is not available, so emergency can be used just to deal with the emergency action, or emergency action can be taken to deal with the emergency action, or leadership can be taken for dealing with emergency. This is how actually word that you have to select. But now, the question begins how to do this one. So as Ablu told you, you need to understand some context. The context of dictator. Temporary means not available. He would be unavailable temporary, not for forever. He would come back up to rule his throne or to rule his leadership, but temporary. But the dictator is not here for a while, so he would come after some time. That means not the intention, because intention of dictator is always negative. Honestly, he would kill his people if some of his people reacts very negatively. That is why we need to use the word unavailable. This is how we do this one. That is what the beauty is. म यसलाई नेपालीमा व्याख्या गर्छु. डिक्टेटर भनेको नेगेटिभ वर्ड हो. त्यो आफै तानाशाही भएकोले इन्टेन्सन त्यसको खराबै हुन्छ हैन. यहाँ चाहिँ के छ भने डिक्टेटर टेम्पोररी एभाइलेबल हुँदा चाहिँ के चाहिँ गर्नुपर्छ, के चाहिँ पोसिबल हुन्छ एभाइलेबल केही समयको लागि डिक्टेटर नभएको बेला के चाहिँ गर्नुपर्छ भनेर भनेको नि त हो. डिक्टेटर केही समयको लागि एभाइलेबल नहुँदाखेरि के गर्ने, केही समयको लागि एभाइलेबल चाहियो नि त यहाँ. हो, इन्टेन्सन चाहिएन के नहुँदाखेरि इमर्जेन्सी लागु गर्ने भने आछ. सो यसरी चाहिँ तपाईले कन्टेक्स्ट बुझ्नु भयो भने आई थिंक तपाईले सबै क्वेशन नै पढ्नु पर्दैन. Right? So let's move on to number 2. Number 2 is a very interesting one. How we do this one? See, most candidates go for selecting actually nutritional. Are you getting me? But we need to understand so high. So high, 40 species. अब यो यस्तो खालको स्पेसिस डिमान्ड भयो कि अनि यहाँ डाइटको बारेमा कुरा गरेको भए न्युट्रिसन लेख्नु पर्थ्यो. यसले चाहिँ के भन्छ धेरै त्यो अर्डर भएको कारणले गर्दा धेरै त्यो अर्डर भएको कारणले गर्दाखेरि के भयो थाहा छ यो व्हाइट वर्म्सलाई समस्या भयो के मान्छेले खाने होला सायद हैन तर डाइटको कुरा गरेको छैन. सो मोस्ट स्टुडेन्ट्स गो फर न्युट्रिसनल. व्हाई वी क्यानट चुज दिस एडजेक्टिभ, वी हैव टु चुज दिस नाउन because of this context. This context does not talk about diets and nutrition, so we cannot choose the word nutrition. यसरी चाहिँ context थाहा पाउने. Because of high demands of white worms, they're having untrade. अब सबै लोभ बिलाप हुने कि भने लोभ हुने भयो क्या किन धेरै अब जम्मा गर्दै राख्यो भने त प्रब्लम हुन्छ नि त फेरि अब मार्यो भने त हैन त्यो white wormsलाई भनेपछि यहाँ के हुन्छ डिमान्ड. The demand is so high that produce is now under trade including white worms. Species पनि white worms सहित गरेर भनेपछि यहाँनिर डाइटको कुरा गरिछन्. सो वी डोन्ट युज न्युट्रिसन. धेरै यो स्पिसिस र व्हाइट वार्मलाई डिमान्ड भएकोले चाहिँ त्यसको ट्रेड भएको नम्बर चाहिँ बिलो हुन्छ भने नम्बर चाहिँ डिक्लाइन हुन्छ. सो दिस इज हाउ वी अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड द डिमान्ड. Yes, and then let's move on to this one. Yes, I think number 3 is not logical. I would go for number 4. Why? Because I will tell you lately. यसको चाहिँ कन्टेक्स्ट अलिकति तलमाथि भएकोले I don't appreciate this one, but this number 4 is very relevant. यस्तो क्वेशन चाहिँ बढी आउँछ तपाईलाई देन दिस वान. सो Professor Monahangan, I would say Monahangan, one of only 70 members. I would read from the beginning. I read very fastly. Professor Monahangan, one of only 70 members elected in 2007 election was recognized developing the किनभने ऊ अलरेडी रिकगनाइज भइसकेको छ. हामी युनिभर्सिटी किन जान्छौँ आइडियल लिन जाने हो नि त. क्रेडिट्स पछि हुन्छ राम्रो स्कुल ल्याएपछि क्रेडिट पाउने हो. तर हामी युनिभर्सिटी किन जान्छौँ भनेको हाम्रो फर्स्ट प्रायोरिटी सिक्नले जाने हो. सो त्यो चाहिँ कन्टेक्स्ट बुझ्नु पर्यो. सो ही कन्ट्रिब्युटेड हिज आइडिया स्पेशली इन द फिल्ड्स अफ एस्ट्रोफिजिक्स, इन्जिनियरिङ एन्ड फिजियोलोजी. इभन इन यसै स्पेशल मुभी स्पेशल इफेक्ट्समा पनि छ अरे भनेपछि उसले उसको थ्योरी चाहिँ के पत्ता लाग्यो यो विषयमा एस्ट्रोफिजिक्स इन्जिनियरिङ र फिजियोलोजी र अरूमा मुभीमा पनि सो उसले त मेथड पत्ता लगाएको नि क्रेडिट छैन नि त ही हेज बिन अलरेडी रेकग्नाइज क्रेडिटेड सो अब चाहिँ के हुन्छ वी हेभ टु चुज द वर्ड मेथड नट द क्रेडिट्स सो यहाँ एस्ट्रोफिजिक्सको इन्जिनियरिङको मेथड चाहिँ उसले दिएको त्यो चाहिँ हाइलाइट गर्नु पर्यो तर कति स्टुडेन्टले क्रेडिट्स लेख्छ ठिक्क हावा त्यो भएर अगाडि र सुरु बिच लास्ट चाहिँ एकचोटि हेर्नुपर्छ इन्स्टेड अफ हरिङ अप छिटो गर्ने तर एकचोटि क्वेसन चाहिँ राम्ररी पढ्नुपर्छ एकचोटि चाहिँ दुईचोटि चाहिँ अनि स्लाइटली पढ्ने तीनचोटिमा चाहिँ एन्ड यु हेभ टु चुज फाइनल पोइन्ट दिस टाइमिङ इज भेरी भेरी इम्पोर्टेन्ट राइट यस यहाँ मेथड किन भयो बिकज ही ब्रड आइडियाज इन एस्ट्रोफिजिक्स त्यति मात्रै भन्नुहुन्छ इन्जिनियरिङ इट्स नट द्याट हि इज गोइङ टु गिभ अस क्रेडिट प्रोफेसरले हामीले स्टुडेन्टलाई क्रेडिट दिने उसले टेक्निक सिकाउने युनिभर्सिटीले तपाईँलाई क्रेडिट दिने हो वेन फेसिङ यो scores or when you perform very well during your tests. That's the difference. It doesn't talk about tests either. It mainly highlights about professors' contributions in the field of astrophysics and engineering. This is how we do. If you have any questions, last key questions are we're going to be interacting. My session चाहिँ अब यसो गर्छु हामी सबै इन्ट्रोडक्सन गर्नेछौँ यस म भिडियो अन गर्नु पर्यो है यसलाई म अफ गर्छु because introduction is also very important. Yes. All right. I would ask you to introduce you. Let's start with Roshni Shrestha. All right, can you introduce yourself, please? Where you live in Japan and where you're from? Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Roshni Shrestha.
Right. Right. Thank you.
Yes. I live in Saitama Ken in Japan.
Wow. It's very difficult for me to pronounce. Okay. Great
and
one.
I'm from Baglung, from Nepal.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Now I have, I don't know, it's a Japanese name. Let me go to Tamang. Okay, Mr. Tamang, can you just introduce yourself? Tamang Saifon. Yes. I'm going to be asking one more candidate. Suraj Dangi, can you introduce yourself, Surajji? Okay. Anil Rai, can you introduce yourself then? Okay, Suraj is coming online. Can you introduce yourself?
Hello. Hello, my name is Suraj Dangi. And recently I live in 𝐼𝐶𝐄𝐄 𝐏𝐌. And I have completed my diploma in automobile engineering from Khadan. Now I am still working at Audi company.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. I think we'll be also introducing ourselves. Okay, anybody here to introduce?
Hello.
Right.
Hello, everyone.
Right. Thank you so much.
My name is Tulsa Tamang, and I'm from Hakone, Japan. And I'm now working in Ryokan, and I'm from Nepal.
Wow, amazing, amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody here to introduce? Okay, 𝐉𝐻𝐵. I don't know. Okay, Paragon. But okay, can you introduce yourself? I think it's already done. All right, so whatever, we are going to be starting.
Hi there, everyone. I'm Vikas from Chiba. And currently I'm working as an engineer over here.
Well, amazing. You all are engineers. Such amazing. Thank you. Anybody here to introduce yourself? नाम लेखेको छैन त्यही भएर मलाई बोलाउनु गाह्रो हो okay ठिक छ अब we're gonna be starting officially from tomorrow onwards. So welcome to my class. We're gonna be starting. You're gonna be having a most amazing class. So हाम्रो चाहिँ भोलिबाट स्टार्ट हुन्छ तपाईहरुले जोइन गर्नु होला है यो क्लास चाहिँ मिस नगर्नु हाम्रो जापानको 8 PM टाइमबाट स्टार्ट हुन्छ है PT class. Everybody के क्वेशन छ भने सोध्नु होला लास्टमा any questions? छ त्यस्तो कुनै? All right, so I would be, yeah, any questions, right?
No, sir.
Okay, this time I'm going to be handling to the founder and director, Interlace. Thank you so much. Hand over.
Thank you, sir. सबैजनालाई चाहिँ धन्यवाद है। ल आजको क्लास चाहिँ यसमै इन्ड गरौँ है। भोलि चाहिँ 8 PM बाट रेगुलर क्लास हुन्छ, जो चाहिँ हामी इनरोल भएको छ, उहाँहरू त्यो 8 PM मै जोइन गर्नुहुन्छ है त। ल थ्यांक यू सर।
Thank you. सबैलाई नमस्कार and have a great time and see you tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you, sir.